It's session 1 of 2 of how to prepare for living a life abroad. I'm going to answer some of the questions that I usually get in the past decade about living abroad. Yesterday, I was talking about dual citizenship. It's a topic that a lot of people talk about. I'm a U.S. citizen, but I want to become a citizen or resident of such and such country. So I'm going to start the session with the question I answered in my live yesterday about what documents you need to acquire dual citizenship. Now, for each country, they have their own set of requirements, but for sure, one of the documents you will need is your birth certificate. However, your birth certificate, you got to do a couple of things to it. You can't just take your birth certificate to such country and say, hey, I want to apply for citizenship to your country. There's a couple of things that you have to do. So first of all, you need the long form version of your birth certificate. You have the short form version and the long form version. And although nowadays some states are more modern and they're giving out the long form as the standard, maybe your state hasn't upgraded. So just to be sure, you have to have the long form. You can order it online. Just Google, how can I get a copy of my long form birth certificate, and put the city where you're at, and it'll show you how to get a copy of it. The difference between the two is that the short form has less information. It has pretty much the basics of your life, your name, your parents' name, where you were born, whereas the long form, it has more information on it, right? And so, of course, if you're going to use your birth certificate in another country, they're going to want as much information on you as possible, hence the requirement for the long form. So once you get that version, the long form version of your birth certificate, you have to get it certified, right? Now, you can get it certified at the Department of Health in the state that you were born in, the city that you were born in. And certified just means that, let's say, for example, New York is going to put a certification, a certificate that says this is a legit document from the state of New York. This person was born here, and the document is good to go. So after your birth certificate is certified, then you have to do something called an apostille. You got to get it apostilled, right? So to apostille means that this document is going to be given a seal that says it's a valid document of the United States of America, and this document is there's intentions to use this document abroad. So that seal lets the country that you're applying for residency or citizenship to, it lets them know that this document is legit, it's from the United States of America, and this is not a scam, right? So you can get that apostilled at the Department of State, wherever you're from, right? So once you have all of that done with your birth certificate, the last step is to translate all of those documents into the official language of the country that you're going to move to. Okay, so that's just one of the documents that you'll need. They'll also want that with death certificates, birth certificates, marriages, divorces. It's usually going to be the same step, right? But again, check with the country that you're going to move to for what their specific requirements are. All right. So staying on the topic of dual citizenship, my Honduran people, my Garifuna people, a lot of y'all have asked me, well, I'm the son or the daughter of a Honduran. How can I get my citizenship? Because no, I'm not. Sorry. How can I get my dual citizenship if my parents are from Honduras or Guatemala or Belize or Nicaragua? How can I get my dual citizenship as well? Wait, Amira. Sorry. No, mamita. Mompreneur life be like, okay, so First of all, it is your birthright to become the citizen of a country where your parents are from, at least for Honduras. Again, check the requirements for other countries, but at least in Honduras, if your parents are from Honduras, it is your birthright to become a Honduran as well. And if you live in the United States, the easiest way to do this is, if you're not traveling back and if you don't have plans to visit Honduras at least 3 times in 1 year, I would hire a lawyer to do this, because it takes a little bit going back and forth with the registrar of persons, el registro de personas in Spanish. You got to go back and forth. And if you don't, this office is in Tegucigalpa. So you may not live in Tegucigalpa. Like in my case, I live in Roatan. So um, I didn't pay a lawyer simply because I was living in Honduras at the time, and my husband's family, they have connections in Tegucigalpa. So since I had the time and I was with people who knew the place, I just did this process on my own. But if I didn't live in Honduras and I didn't have the people, I would hire a lawyer. So what you need to ask your parents for their copy of their Honduran birth certificate, whether it's your mom or your dad. If both of them are from Honduras, then ask both of them for a copy of their birth certificate. You also need a copy of their cédula, which is the Honduran ID, right? And once you have those copies, that's enough to prove to Honduras that it is your birthright to apply for Honduran citizenship. Now, but however, if you hire a lawyer without doing what I told you with your birth certificate, it doesn't matter if you have a copy of all of your parents' documents. In order to get the process started, you first need all of your US documents apostilled and certified, and then you send it to Honduras, whether you're doing it by yourself or you're doing it with a lawyer, right? So even if you're hiring a lawyer, the lawyer cannot work on your case if he doesn't have your required US documents apostilled, certified, and translated into Spanish. So once you get that and you get your parents' stuff, these documents go to the registro de personas. And the reason why you're unable to do this, there are local registrars of people, or registros de personas. Like, if talking about Honduras specifically, if you're from like Trujillo or Santa Fe, Noa Mira or La Ceiba or San Pedro, they are local registrars. But because this is applying for Honduran citizenship, you have to go to the main one, which is in Tegucigalpa, which is the capital, right? So those documents have to go there. Now, once they go there, you wait a couple of months. I would say give yourself at least 6 months minimum before you start checking and calling and seeing what's up. Give it at least 6 months. So after 6 months, what you will receive is you're going to receive a Honduran birth certificate. Yes, you'll receive a Honduran birth certificate, and that birth certificate will have your Honduran ID number. So that is like what we call our social security number here in the US. On the cedula, or the Honduran ID, there's a number on it. And that number is given to you first on your birth certificate, right? So that is your like social security number for Honduras. Now, once you have your Honduran birth certificate, you take that birth certificate, and right there as well in the registro de personas. Now, for this process, you don't need a lawyer. You can do this once you have your Honduran birth certificate. You can do this next step that I'm telling you at your local registro de personas, or registrar of persons in Honduras, or if you're in the U.S., you can do it at the Honduran embassy in the city nearest you, right? You take your birth certificate, the Honduran one, and then with that you can apply for your cedula, or AKA your Honduran ID. Now, yeah, it's a process, right? Once you have your Honduran ID, now you have walking proof that you are a Honduran citizen. And with that Honduran ID, The ID serves not only as your ID, but like I said, as like your social security number. So it's not something you want to be showing everybody either, that number. Once you have that, then you can apply for your Honduran passport if you choose to do that, right? And that's how you get your dual citizenship if you are the child of a Honduran parent. And it could be one parent. It doesn't have to be both. It could be just one parent. And once you have your Honduran citizenship, if you have children, even though they were born in the US just like you can also apply for their Honduran citizenship as well. All right. So let's go to the next question.